one of the questions we're asking is, can you tell us about yourself, your background, professional background, and your connection to the county?
Absolutely. I was born and raised in Delta County. Lived there 40 out of my 43 years in life. I am a former preschool teacher, former church secretary, and my biggest success was owning and operating For the Love of Cupcakes, which was a local bakery that I created and built into a business and recently sold. And so now I'm officially retired and can do full-time into county politics, county government.
Gotcha.
Have a family, husband, 3 grown daughters. My youngest is graduating high school this year. My 3 daughters will be scattered all over the country. So yeah, I'm ready for an adventure for me.
And as you've been following local politics,
Mm-hmm.
in your own words, what do you see as the role of a county commissioner? What are the most important responsibilities in your role?
I think leadership is all about teamwork. It's not about knowing everything. It's knowing a lot of people who are specified in certain areas where we can come together and collaborate. It's not about what I feel. It's about what the citizens of the district that I represent feel. I feel that's lacking right now. When I decided to run, it was because I love my community and I love my district, which is the greater city of Escanaba, and I felt like I could do a better job. By doing a better job, I mean being present, representing all of my constituents, not just the ones who vote for me. And I know that's sort of a, everybody says that, but I truly mean it. I've made valiant efforts in the last 2.5 years to speak to the people who don't want me in office, to let them know that I still want to hear their concerns. I feel like I've made some inroads there, but I feel like I still have a lot of work to do. But I believe it takes 2 in order to make that happen. So I can give all the effort that I can, but if the people aren't willing to come to me, there's very little I can do about it except just be a calm presence for everyone.
And for somebody outside of Delta County looking to move here, or
I understand.
to there,
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe it to them?
Oh, I believe that Delta County is a great place to live. I think we're on the precipice of something good. We are dealing with a lot of growth in our downtown area. We have a new hotel coming in. We have condos coming in. We have always, or I shouldn't say we, I have always looked at Marquette as a great example of what we can do. Not to say to be the next Marquette, but to be a better Escanaba. We recently received new owners at the House of Ludington. They purchased the House of Ludington, and the House of Ludington is coming back to life, which is amazing. I believe we have a great collaborative effort with our local DDA, our EDA, the MEDC, the Chamber. We've brought some great events to Escanaba in the recent past, and I think it can only grow. But in order to do that, we have to have great collaborative effort from all of those entities that I just mentioned. And we also have to have great collaboration between the county and the city of Escanaba, Gladstone as well. And of course, the townships who always want to remain autonomous in what they do, and we need to be able to give them that autonomy. And we see that a lot of people are wanting to move to Delta County because of the Billerud expansion and their changeover from paper to cardboard. And I think that's going to be amazing for Delta County. I think that we are in a bit of a crisis right now because we don't have the housing required for those who are looking to come in to build that expansion, which is upwards of 2,000 people. And so we're looking potentially at having a housing crisis here in the near future. Right now, I believe that the local house in Delta County is 59 days on the market, and they're getting over asking price. So that shows me that there's a lack of housing. And I'm talking about lack of housing for low to middle income, and the commissioners that we currently have on the commission are looking at more of middle upper to upper housing. And so it doesn't fit our demographic, and we really need to focus on what can fit our demographic. Sorry, I just kind of ramble.
No, you're fine. You were just talking about housing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you would like to see change about Delta County?
Absolutely. I think we have a problem addressing our homeless population. I see them every day in Escanaba, particularly because that's where I live. We had a great organization called the Hope at the Inn that worked with our homeless population during the winter months, and that has since ended, and we don't have a backup plan. The Salvation Army can only do so much. And I think that we need to focus on what they need. And of course, the homeless population is not always due to a mental health crisis, but we also have a mental health crisis in Delta County. Pathways has tried their best, but right now we just have no place to house these people, and they need help. They need a lot of help. And while I don't think it's quite the county's responsibility to take this on 100%, I believe that we can be a collaborative effort with other entities, and we can be the voice in bringing these people in to start a collaborative effort to see what we can do about our homeless population. I think that's really important.
And at the county level, what levers do you have? What options are there to address housing and the mental health crisis?
Well, I think especially with housing, we can focus on working with our local city entities. In 2018 and 2016, I believe, the Escanaba City Planning Commission and the Escanaba City Council voted down 2 separate housing projects that were proposed, one on Ludington Street itself and then another one over by our new Meyer. One was 45 units, the other was 70 units, 1, 2, 3 bedroom units. And the city voted one down because of not fitting in with the master plan, and then the other one because it would have required a special land use permit in change of the ordinance code, and I feel that was a huge detriment. I feel now, looking back on it, they should have been looking not at what was happening at the time, but what could happen in the future. And I believe that also goes into homelessness. If you have housing units that are MSHDA approved or HUD approved, and you can get those people into these type of housing facilities, that might help our homeless problem. And so I believe that yes, we do need middle and upper income housing, but it shouldn't be the priority. The priority should be low to middle income. I think I did some research, well, I know I did some research on the income level in Delta County and what is considered low income in the state of Michigan, and a vast majority of our population would be considered low income. You have to face the fact that a lot of our constituents, a lot of our citizenry in Delta County is low to middle income. We have to end that stigma of what it means to be low income. The state average, I believe, for considering low income is $50,000, and the average Michigan school teacher makes $40,000. So they're characterized as low income. That doesn't make them a negative connotation. That makes them a person that is making below what the state guidelines are. And that person could qualify for low income housing. That's what we need to be focusing on.
I feel like what we've talked about before may encompass this next question, but
okay.
To hit it on more of a point, if elected, what would be your top priorities? Mm-hmm. What do you see as your largest challenges? And feel free and abbreviate in case we've been over kind of.
No, that's okay. In 2022, I ran as a no party affiliate candidate for the county commission, and the top 3 priorities for me at the time were helping our VSO, expanding our airport, and dealing with the turnover at our jail for staff. And we are still seeing those problems today. That was 2 years ago. And so we have a problem with our jail staff. They are wonderful, but they are overworked, they are undercompensated, and it's a hard enough position as it is, but then when you're dealing with those issues, it's easier to leave. And so I think we need to focus on how we can stop that turnover, and that's working with the sheriff's office, that's working with our sheriff, it's working with our administrator and HR to figure out what is going on, why these people are being overworked and underpaid. I think our airport at Delta County Airport has a chance to be become something much greater. We have runway 119 that is not utilized as much, and I think that if we can get more aircraft in on that runway 119, we can get extra funding so we can expand that, and we could then have more of a I wouldn't say competition, but more bids on our carriers, because right now we have only SkyWest, and the other airlines that come in to do bids are just not tangible for us. And so I think with the expansion of runway 119, we could do great things. So I am willing to work with our airport manager to see how those things could happen. And then then our help with our VSO, because Dave Xavier has been the only person in the office for the last 8 years, and he has repeatedly come to the county for additional funding for additional staff, and he's been left out in the dark. And most recently, he in my opinion, has finally just had enough and said, I can't wait for you guys any longer. I'm just going to try and push a millage now. And so this commission and the prior commissions have said, oh, we want to help our veterans. We have the largest veteran population in the entire Upper Peninsula. Why are we the only county in the Upper Peninsula with one employee in our VSO? He's doing it all, and it's absurd to me that this hasn't been taken care of. And unfortunately now, because the commissions have not done their due diligence, Dave and his other, helpers with this have decided to put it on the taxpayers for a millage. I think it's going to be overwhelmingly supported, but why did it take so long to get to this point? And that's something I think needs to be addressed.
And the recall petition that spurred this election cites the firing of Emily DeSalvo, the then administrator. In that February 7 meeting, before they voted to terminate her contract, she accused Moyle, Barron, and Peterson of acting in their best interests and not the best interests of the county. What do you make of those accusations, and in your opinion, why was she fired?
Emily DeSalvo, our county administrator, was excellent at what she did. She had an excellent rapport with her staff. She had a wonderful rapport with people in the community. She had brought in a lot of money in grants to our county. She had gotten us through the COVID-19 pandemic, focused on selling the county property when the developers came in for the old jail site. She, according to 3 commissioners on the prior board, had been doing an excellent job. According to her staff, she had been doing an excellent job. Emily DeSalvo, in my opinion, was fired because she was doing her job too well. Emily was a very ethical person. She was a very transparent person, and when she saw unethical behavior and non-transparency, she would call it out, just like she had done at that meeting. She, I believe, had given her job everything she had, and those 3 commissioners that voted to fire her were forcing her into a situation where she could not do her job. And I think that the firing of Emily DeSalvo had everything to do with Rory Mattson and nothing else.
What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Rory Mattson was the chair of the Conservation District at the time, and he had requested a $42,000 payment for the parks in September or October of the prior year before she had gotten fired. And because he hadn't provided proper receipts for those expenditures and it was going to be paid out of American Rescue Plan money, Ms. DeSalvo was not authorizing those payments. That made Mr. Mattson very angry. He was actually the person who encouraged Commissioner Peterson to run for the county commission, and Commissioner Peterson had approached Commissioner View after the election when they were both elected, but before they were sworn in, to get Commissioner View to be on board with firing Emily DeSalvo. Emily's firing was planned before the February 7th meeting, despite what they say, and there is proof of that.
Yeah, and I've also heard and been told that by them that they essentially make the opposite accusation, that the February 7th, what happened at the meeting on February 7th was a setup on the other side.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, how do you interpret that?
Okay, they have said that that Emily and Commissioner Malner, that Ms. DeSalvo and Commissioner Malner had set this all into motion. That Commissioner Malner knew she was going to give that speech that she gave. That's why the amount of audience was there. But the fact of the matter is, at the prior board meeting, they had voted to no longer hear ethics complaints. They had an ethics committee, and Commissioner Moyle said, I want nothing to do with ethics complaint, needs to be sent to the state, even though the state couldn't take ethics complaints. And so when they said 2 meetings in after being elected that they wanted to do away with the ethics committee, well, that's a red flag to a lot of people. So a lot of people showed up at that meeting to see where it was going to go, because then they later found out through the Daily Press that they couldn't do that. And so that's why a lot of people were there. Yes, there were people there to support Emily because she was on the agenda, but their accusations are completely unfounded. You know, when we have proof that they did this, that they set this plan into motion. I mean, you had Commissioner Moyle and Commissioner Barron who had given Administrator DeSalvo exceedingly low marks on her reviews with no explanation. And they were asked so many times why they had given her such low performance reviews, and they refused to answer. I asked them, Administrator DeSalvo asked them, the other commissioners asked them, the public asked them, and they would refuse. They just refused. So when you have 2 commissioners on the prior board who already had this unfathomable negativity towards her, and then you have the third one come on in an election and then approach another newly elected commissioner and say, hey, just to let you know, this is going to happen, we'd like you to be on board. And that commissioner told Ms. DeSalvo she knew that it was coming. She didn't know when, so she essentially beat them to their own game by giving that speech on February 7th.
In your opinion, what are you most concerned about with the current board?
Gosh, I don't know.
We can revisit it too.
I'm sorry, I'm so tired. Where I'm 6 days away from election, I'm sorry. I mean, there's so many things that run through my head. I would say that with this commission, they have created so much self-induced chaos that they in turn blame the public for. That I feel they are not doing justice to their seats. That would be my biggest concern. I just, if they could just do the work, if they knew what they needed to be doing, if they followed Robert's rules, if they followed the Open Meetings Act, if they followed their procedures and policies, we would have a completely different outcome 16 months later. You know, I think they had an opportunity to earn the trust back from their constituents after the firing of Emily DeSalvo, and they totally just failed. And so what I'm trying to teach people is that you can have leadership that's calm, consistent, knowledgeable, educated on the topics, and willing to collaborate with each other, because that's what we're not seeing right now. They have bought into this completely divisiveness that we see at the state and federal level, and it doesn't need to be that way.
Could you talk more about your idea on how to essentially decrease the divisiveness, bring people back together?
Well, it's just communication. It's just communication. I'm a strong believer in the process, right? Not everybody is going to agree with your decision making, but if you can have the, I'm losing my word, if you can have the proof that you have followed the proper process. While they might not agree with the outcome, they will respect you for following the process. We're not seeing that right now. What we're seeing is commissioners who don't have the background knowledge, who don't read the board packets, who make decisions on a whim, and then have to go back and fix them later. And by following a proper process before you make a decision, you're going to eliminate all that. You're going to eliminate the confusion in the public. You are going to make them less curious because you can be open and honest with them while the process is happening. And like I said before, they might not agree with the outcome, but they can appreciate the knowledge that you followed the proper process. And so that's what I'm going to try and do. Collaborating with my fellow commissioners is going to be very important. I've tried to establish good relationships even with the commissioners that are on the board now, and it's impossible. I've repeatedly said, Commissioner Peterson has a really big problem with me. I have never had a problem with him, but he goes after me on social media all the time, and I don't know why. I've had a 15-year acquaintanceship with Commissioner Peterson, and I never felt that there was any animosity between us, but when I decided to go forward with this recall, it just all came unglued, and that's very unfortunate. I've had respectable conversations with Commissioner Barron. I've never spoken to Commissioner Moyle because of his outlandish remarks towards myself and my character and my family, but I can't do anything about their actions. I can only control what I do.
And to cap it off, do you have a general message to the voters? Anything else you want to say to the public?
Yeah, I just want them to know that I love my community. A lot of people have said, wow, she's just a sore loser with a vendetta. And to my response to that is, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. And that's what I'm going to do. I feel like the recall process has been an excellent educational tool for our public. We had people wanting to sign those recall petitions that didn't know who their commissioner was, what district they lived in, none of that, and now they know. You know, we had people reaching out from the different districts that wanted to sign the recall, and we educated them on the fact that they couldn't sign. It could only be the people in the districts. So I'm hoping to be a calm voice for people. I'm hoping to be an effective leader, a source of positivity for our community, which that's been lacking for the last 16 months.
All right, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for having me.